Yo, what's up? Hi, look at me. I'm very glossy. I'm covered in sunscreen because I'm no longer in the southern hemisphere. I'm in the northern hemisphere and have been for not even a week. I'm in Canada. I find myself at the Banff Centre. I posted a little bit earlier in the year that I got into the summer opera program at the Banff Centre. Oh, I've got a notification here. Goodbye. Yeah, and I have arrived. I've been here, it's Wednesday, and I've been here since Monday. We started on Monday, Sunday night. So I flew Melbourne to Hong Kong. It's about 8.5 hours. If you're keeping up with my short vlogs on my stories, no, what are they called? Shorts, YouTube shorts. You might have seen there. So flew Melbourne to Hong Kong with Cathay Pacific, very comfortable, very fine. And then I flew Hong Kong to Vancouver across the big, massive storm, perhaps typhoon, that was in Japan. So it was quite bonkers. It was just turbulent from the moment we took off until like Alaska or something. It was pretty wild. And I don't fly very well. And I've talked about this on my videos before. I think I'm a recovering like anxiety airline person. Like I think now I can fly and it doesn't become, crushing. Like I remember one time I had an overnight flight from Bangkok to Australia with Jetstar, which doesn't help the situation. But I just remember being so anxious and so upset and like gripping onto the seat. I was shocked at how I had that response because I'd never, all through my 20s, never had that. And then COVID happened and I didn't travel for a couple of years. And then the first time getting back on planes, I think it was the COVID stuff, anyway. I'm a recovering, flight phobic person. And now I actually had a really good time. And in a way, that turbulence was actually quite a good challenge for me because it was just like, okay, lock in, you're safe, you're comfortable. It's just, well, you're not comfortable. You're just uncomfortable. Like that's all it is, right? So it was kind of cool. It was like a good challenge. Also, I knocked myself out with sleeping tablets for a couple of hours, which always helps. And then landed into Vancouver. So I spent 2 nights in Vancouver. Yeah, it seems to be a really beautifully planned out city, beautiful parks. Like I really enjoyed walking around. I think it's like the seawall, I think was the big sort of walk around the harbour. That was really beautiful. I actually got quite a bit sunburnt because I wasn't prepared for the UV level. So that was really nice. So I did 2 nights in Vancouver and was, classic jet lag from Australia, like kept waking up at 4 a.m. So I was getting up really early and then getting to 4 o'clock and being like, ugh. And then flew over to Calgary and then I took the bus from Calgary here to Banff. And so, yeah, we had our orientation on Monday. So that was kind of like checking out the facilities, wandering around the grounds. And it's remarkable. Like I'll try and edit in some of the footage that I've captured while walking around here because you just, like I'm looking out the window here, like trying to focus on speaking to the camera, but I just keep looking out at these like stunning mountains that are just outside my room, and beautiful trees. There's like fir trees, pine trees. You see animals. I haven't seen like an elk yet, but I saw a deer yesterday wandering around the campus. There's like lots of beautiful birds everywhere, some interesting insects. Like it's just so inspirational. There's an incredible river down here, and I went for a walk with some of the other participants the other night to the river. And there's like falls there. So it's like, the river's quite rushing, and I think there's been a lot of rain. So like there's a lot of water. And I was saying to them, like, there's more water in this river than there is in the entire continent of my country, like it's crazy. I always find that when I travel and I go to really wet places. Like I remember being in Ireland and just being like, how is there this much water in the world? I'm just not used to seeing it. So yeah, it's just a stunning place. And you hear, like I've had friends who've done residencies here before and, I've just heard only positive things about the facilities and the campus and it just being a super inspirational place. And, the organization says it in all their materials and, you don't want to like drink the Kool-Aid too much and go along with it. But it really is true. Like it seems to be an incredibly inspiring place to just spend time thinking about your work and creating your work. So I'm here for the summer opera program, which they're workshopping 3 large works over the 4 weeks, and those are allocated with conductors, and I'm here as a conductor. And so at the moment, it's a little unclear like what my role is on those productions. Like, am I assisting? Am I just observing? You know, am I able to kind of like contribute and help with guiding the singers through that experience? Because the singers are quite busy. Like, they have lots of coachings and there's like some really fabulous teachers here. So they seem to be under the pump. And then I'm kind of sitting around a little bit like, what am I doing? So I'm just trying to figure out like, what do I want to get out of this experience and how can I shape it? So I've been allocated one piece though, which is really exciting. Tristan Wilson, called Cassation. So it's originally written for a soprano and piano, but we're doing it with two singers because it contains two characters in this cycle. It's like a 20-minute work. I believe Tristan is writing it at the moment for a larger ensemble, so it's going to be kind of cool to have conversations with them about where it could go from here. So that's exciting. That's happening next week, and it's being performed alongside one of the larger works in the program. So we have our first rehearsal, I think, on Friday, and this afternoon I've got meetings that are like production meetings with the director and figuring out staging and concepts, blah, blah, blah. So that's exciting. And then probably the most exciting / chaotic thing is this thing called the 48-hour opera, where we're basically putting an opera on in 48 hours next week or the week after or something. So Tristan is writing the music. I will be conducting. Another Wilson, Nicole Wilson, who is the director here in sort of the same role that I'm here as a conductor, like as a participant, she will be directing the work. So it's super exciting. We've kind of clicked and been having some really great chats about theatre and art. She's new to opera, which is really nice. It's kind of nice to be able to like introduce her to the world of opera. I'd like to think that I'm a good collaborator. I really like directors. I like working with directors. I like hearing how they build a world out of nothing. Like, from a music perspective, you know, you're so often just dealing with the score and like you have a thing that you can build from. And of course directors have text, but I don't know, it's just like, it's so based on imagination and how you communicate your imagination. And I just think that that's a really cool thing and takes guts to do that. So yeah, really enjoying building a relationship with Nicole and with Tristan, and yeah, curious to see how that's going to work. So I think like a couple of days of development and writing, and then off we go. We have like 2 rehearsals and then we put the show on. So it's, yeah, I'll report back. I don't know if it's going to be stressful or it's really enjoyable, but it's going to be something. Certainly going to be a show. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about like Banff, because I feel like it's something that comes up a lot in Australia as an opportunity for artists, like the Banff Residencies. You know, like friends have done it. A lot of friends of mine want to do it. You know, I've always wanted to come here. It's sort of around in the vernacular of the arts world in Australia. And then also, just in general, there are so many Australians here. Like, there's a gym on campus and there's a little cafe there, and I've been going there to do my emails in the morning, and I feel like every second person that's walking into the gym is an Australian. And everyone I speak to who are like Banff residents who, you know, work at the centre or whatever are like, there are so many Australians here. So I guess I knew the Aussies come here to like work the snow and like do snow stuff, but it's the middle of summer. So I was sort of quite taken aback that there's still, of course, like anywhere in the world, you can't escape the Australians. We are here. So yeah, talking a little bit about the residency from my experience so far. So I paid about $3,500 Australian dollars for this residency, which includes food for that period of $2,000 Canadian. So there's I think there's usually 4 restaurants here, but there's only 3 in operation, I think, at the moment. So there's like a quick service cafe. It has like, you know, pastries and cookies and coffee. And then there's Vistas, which is like a buffet style. So they do breakfast, lunch and dinner. So I've done a dinner there twice. I've done breakfast there this morning. The breakfast was really good, and they're priced differently. So it was about $30 for the breakfast, and I think the dinners were $50, which seemed a little steep to me. Like, it has soft drink, soda. It was quite funny. There was an Aussie there on my first night. She was like, do you want a soda? And I was like, I'd like a soft drink, please. And it was quite nice. And she like laughed, and yeah. And then there was another Aussie served me yesterday, and they were like, do you want fries with your burger? And I was like, actually, I would like chips. And she was like, yeah, no. It was very funny to be Australian. Yeah, so Vistas is nice, but it seems like you wouldn't go there every day. Like it just seems a little bit pricey for a buffet. Like the food's really nice and it's good, but $50, you don't want to do that every day. And yeah, it basically works out to be about $60 a day. So you've got to kind of supplement that a little bit. So I've just been cooking, like the odd pasta meal or have some muesli or whatever just to tide over for a meal. So there's Vistas, then there's like McLab, which is a more of a sit-down restaurant. It's kind of like burgers and pizzas, and I had a steak sandwich yesterday. It's that kind of vibe. And then of course you could go into town and eat. And then I think there's a fine dining restaurant, but it's not open here. So that's kind of the food options. There's not like a store, and I feel like that's a bit of a wasted opportunity that there isn't a shop here. Like there's at the reception you could get, packets of chips and stuff. But you'd think that you'd have like a little store you could buy, even like pharmaceutical stuff or whatever. But anyway, that's the way it is. You walk into town is like 20 minutes, if that, 15 minutes. So, you can just go into town. But it's like steep, you're going kind of down the mountain, and I went and bought a whole lot of stuff from the supermarket in the middle of the heat, of the summer. It was, I got really sweaty. So like that's the food situation. So yeah, the $3,500 is food and board. I'm going to do a little room tour with the caveat that my room is a pigsty and that I've been here now for a couple of days and like done washing and stuff. So I'm kind of here for the chaotic room tour I'm going to give. But maybe I'll just slice in a little bit of footage of when I first arrived and the room looked really nice. So I think that I didn't realize this, that it's also a hotel. So there is like two kind of chalet style buildings. The one I'm presuming is the more like mid-range one where it's like a double bed and a chair, got a little desk area, bathroom obviously. And then there's like another one that looks to be a little bit more fancy because they have a lot of conferences here. So I think that a lot of the conference people end up in the fancier one. I'm sure I could have paid an upgrade or something. And there's ones that seem to have like a balcony and a little bit more of a nice zhuzhi thing. But I'm perfectly happy with this room. Like I can live in this room for a month. It's fine. This building also has a kitchen. It's not very well resourced, like a shared kitchen, but there's a kitchen, with an oven and stuff. There's a laundry. Like, if you're here for a month, you can make it work. And the gym, I haven't used it yet, but it looks really good. There's like a pool, a gym, I think there's a hot tub and a sauna and stuff. And they've got like a drop-in centre place where you can get Panadol, chocolate, an eye mask, that sort of thing, just a little kind of wellness check-in place. So yeah, the setup is amazing. And then we have access in the opera program to the huts that are here, which people might like. I feel like a lot of people are aware of those as a part of the residency. So again, I haven't been in there yet, so I'm excited to try and make some time to go into the hut. I find that with rehearsals and the craziness of starting, I've just been like going to my room and then trying to find my way around the music building and trying to find my way around the theatre building. So I haven't kind of gotten to that point yet. Or the library. There's also a library here. But the huts, it's like a little practice room dotted in the woods. Like it's really pretty special. So I'm excited to check that out. I think some have pianos, some don't. I assume that they're set up to be like multidisciplinary. So I think some are like for writers, so they probably just have a desk, and some are for visual artists. Some seem to have pianos in them, but not all. And then there's a piano building, a music building, which has like practice studios, teaching studios. I don't know if we can like book those. I assume if I wanted to use a piano, I might be able to book one of those rooms. Which thinking of that, I should probably do that. And then the theatre building has like a really beautiful 1,000-seat theatre, and in there's like a whole lot of dance studios, and then also a smaller theatre that seats probably like 200-300, which I think we're using that theatre. So that's kind of the setup there. And then there's like a whole visual art area, which we had a tour of, but they're like in between exhibitions. So I presume that there's like, space to build and construct sculptures or whatever. There was an amazing, we went into like the pottery area where there was kilns and things. It was really fascinating. I wonder if there's a photography studio here. So if you're a photographer, I'm thinking my dad is a photographer. There's a lot of like old school printing stuff. I wonder if there's like a dark room. You would assume so. It seems to have that sort of scale. Like they seem to try and provide something for everyone here. And then there's a First Nations building, which I've not been in or sort of had anything to do with, but I'd be curious to know about that, because there seems to be a whole program that's dedicated to First Nations culture and art, and, you know, making that a big part of what they do here, because obviously, you know, that's a big part of the working with the land here, I imagine. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to do my silly little room tour now. And yeah, it's an absolute pigsty. So welcome to my life. All right. So first of all, here's my messy bed. And here is that view I was talking about. So like, look at that, like waking up to that every morning, you know, that alone, I feel like justifies being here. And then, yeah, so I've got a little comfy area, a little poof over here. And then, so double bed, I've got this desk area, which is an absolute pigsty, but still enough space to, yeah, do some score study, do emails. I had a meeting in here last night, blah, blah, blah. And then over here, little coffee station, coffee, tea, little hotel fridge, little hanging area, etc. And then, of course, in here we got the bathroom, which again is a complete pigsty. But yeah, toilet, shower, usual business. Yeah, so boom, Banff, baby. I'm here for another 3.5 weeks. So stay tuned. I'm going to try and do a longer form video like this maybe once a week. I think that's probably the most I can commit to. And just, yeah, I was just curious to document my learnings and to like just put down how I'm feeling and where I'm at. And like I said, at the moment, the course feels like we're still trying to figure out what it is, and I still need to figure out what I want to get out of this experience. But like just being here alone has worth the journey, you know, like it is an incredibly beautiful place, and I'm looking forward to seeing the sort of art that I create and the people that I'll meet here as well, of course. So stay tuned for the next one.